There are tons and tons of fantastic mystery procedural shows in television history. So what if I take 8 of the most popular mystery shows and make their pilot episodes compete head-to-head in a Mystery Madness tournament? Here's how it's going to work. I have chosen 8 shows: Psych, Numbers, Monk, Murder, She Wrote, Bones, Castle, The Mentalist, and Elementary. And I will decide which one beats the other and moves on to the next round based solely on their pilot episodes, their first episodes. How will I decide which pilot deserves to beat the other one? I'm glad you asked. I'll be ranking or rating each pilot based on 3 categories: mystery writing, how good the mystery of the episode is; detective character, how good the detective character in the show is; and finally, the hook. Does this pilot make me want to keep watching the show? But most importantly, the numbers are just there to help me keep my opinions kind of straight. In reality, it's just based on vibes and my personal thoughts. Now, I imagine that a lot of you have already begun to yell at the screen about how I forgot one of the best mystery shows ever. I'm sure I did. I picked 8 at random. So if you have a suggestion for more, leave them in the comments. Also, spoiler alert for the pilot episodes of each of these 8 shows. And trigger warning, because these are crime shows, violent crimes will be mentioned. With all of that out of the way, let's jump right into our first matchup: Psych versus Numbers.
You're rooting through the trash? Oh my God. What? This CD case is totally nice.
Psych.
Everything's gonna be okay. I'm a psychic.
He's not really a psychic,
Don't eat the chicken.
but he plays one for the police.
Let's call the cops. No. At headquarters, I suddenly and miraculously have a vision.
Vision?
What am I seeing? 8, 3, 1.
On Highway 138.
Exactly. In the spirit world, things get jumbled and out of sequence.
The pilot episode of Psych is a very fun episode. This show is definitely a comedy instead of a drama, which that is going to be something kind of interesting when we start to compare it to a drama show, right? Comedy versus drama. It makes things complicated. We meet Sean Spencer, a very impulsive guy who has the unique ability to pick up on small details. Very much a Sherlock Holmes style detective character. His technique is based on noticing the small things that no one else really notices and making assumptions or deductions based on those details. Sean, who is this one on the left, he ends up getting accused of a crime, and in order to get himself out of that situation, he tells the cops that he is a psychic. And they end up hiring him to help out on a big kidnapping case that has them stumped. So Sean and his best friend Gus start looking into the missing person, Camden McCallum Jr. He's like the oldest son of a super rich family in town. Pretty much right off the bat, Sean does some great detective work. Camden used to be like a playboy type, super into partying and just getting in trouble in general. And then one day he just stopped and he was on his best behavior for 18 months. Then boom, disappears one day. Him and his family dog, his childhood dog, disappears. Kidnapped. From the information that Sean gets from the family and from his investigation, he realizes a couple of major things. The first one being that Camden never did anything without his dog. And 2, Camden has not been seen with his best friend Malcolm in 18 months. Sean puts 2 and 2 together and realizes what kind of happened. Camden was told by his father that if he messes up one more time, he's going to be cut off for good. So he hatches a plan. He stays completely out of trouble for 18 months, stays away from his friend, his best friend Malcolm. That way, after 18 months goes by, he takes his dog and he gets kidnapped. And since he has not been seen with Malcolm in over a year, the cops and the family don't think to look into Malcolm, the old best friend. So that leads Sean and Gus to Malcolm's family's cabin where they see Camden's dog. They found them. It was essentially like a ransom grab scheme, right? He gets kidnapped. They send his dad the ransom. His dad drops the ransom money off. They get to keep the cash and then run off. Case solved, right? No. Sean and Gus have to lead the cops to the cabin in a psychic way, right? And by the time that they get the cops there, the cops show up. Camden and Malcolm are both dead. And the cops are like, okay, well, they got into a fight over the ransom money. This one killed that one. And then, that's how it went. But Sean isn't so sure. He does some more investigating. Then Sean figures it out. Camden's dad had showed up to pay the ransom money. And when he did that, he noticed Malcolm's car, his son's old best friend. That's when it connects in his head and he realized that his son is scamming him. He turns around, goes to Malcolm's family cabin. He shows up. His son is there. Things get physical. He pushes his son down. His son hits his head on the edge of the table. He's dead. Malcolm walks in from going to collect the ransom, sees the dead body, sees what just happened, pulls out a gun. Camden's dad fights the gun away, shoots him, makes the whole thing look like he was never there. Boom. Mystery solved. Sean is able to prove this theory to the police from a dog bite that Camden's dad had on his wrist. And it's like one of those things, since the dog was with Camden, how did his dad get a dog bite unless he was with the dog who was with his son? Boom. It's a very well done mystery. It flows really well. The big reveal at the end isn't like some sort of huge shock, but that's not really the point of this mystery. There's some great clues. There's some really fun moments. It had some solid red herrings, and it just made it an enjoyable and satisfying mystery for the viewer, which means that on the mystery category, I'm going to be rating it an 8. For the detective category, I'm going to give Psych a 10. Sean Spencer is an incredible detective character. The whole fake psychic gimmick is tons of fun. His relationships and his friendships with like Gus, and then his like relationship with his dad, which is like an estranged relationship. It's all very interesting. It makes for dynamic characters. And of course, he's genuinely hilarious. So he's a good detective. He's like believable as someone who could solve this crime. And he's just interesting and fun to watch. What more could you want from a detective? I don't think anyone can be more of a 10 in the detective category than Sean. As for the hook, I believe I'm going to give it an 8 as well. There's nothing that happens in the pilot that makes me need to keep watching. Like there's no overarching mystery introduced that's like, well, if I want the answer, I'm going to have to keep watching. And, it didn't end on some sort of cliffhanger that makes me click on episode 2 to see the result. But it's such an enjoyable show. It's really fun. And that's why it makes me want to keep watching. So I'm giving Psych an 8. We add up those 3 categories and Psych ends up with a total of 26 points. So that is currently the bar. So now let's jump into numbers and see how it competes.
I gotta break some kind of lead on this. I have no idea where that's gonna come from.
When the facts don't add up.
You have abilities. You're at your peak as a mathematician.
This is the man who counts.
You're saying you can tell us where the killer lives?
Yeah. When you're working on human problems, there's gonna be pain and disappointment.
How do you forgive yourself if you're wrong?
Don't. I can't be wrong.
The ultimate crime division.
Numbers don't lie.
In the Numbers pilot episode, the FBI are struggling to find a man who has assaulted 13 women, and the most recent victim was murdered. FBI agent Don recruits the help of his little brother Charlie, who is a mathematician. That's this guy. I don't know if you could even see that. I don't know if it's too small. So Charlie is a genius with numbers. He's a mathematician. He's able to just do anything with equations. He says everything is numbers. Hence the name of the show. Charlie is helping his brother by putting together an equation that takes the location of all of the previous attacks and pinpoints the perpetrator's home address. He puts this equation together, it seems to work, and he gives the FBI a general location of where the killer may reside. So the FBI searches that area and they don't get any matches for the guys that live in that area and the DNA that they have of the killer. Oh no, does that mean that Charlie's equation is a bust? To make matters worse, While they're running around trying to figure out this equation, another woman is killed. Charlie is certain that the issue is not his math. He says that it's the data that the FBI provided him that's flawed, not his math. And sure enough, they find out that one of the victims had lied to the FBI about the location where she was attacked. She didn't want her fiance to know that she was in the same area as this ex-boyfriend of hers that she's still friends with. So, using the new information, the correct location where that attack happened, he was able to pinpoint down an even smaller area where the killer must live. But here's the thing. They've already checked that area. None of the guys matched the DNA. And now Charlie's brother Don is pissed because he got taken off the case for dealing with all these numbers nonsense. And their dad, they're hanging out at their family home, and their dad's like, well, what if it's not his home? Like, what if it's his office, like where he works? And they're like, Dad, you're a genius. They rerun the numbers, not just residential, but commercial areas as well. They run the equation. They think they find their guy. They visit his place of work. Sure enough, he's there. He's got another woman held hostage. They save her, kill the bad guy, and the creme de la creme of it all. Is that a thing? Is that a saying? To top it all off, they find out from the killer's license plate that he actually did live in the area that Charlie originally found, but he moved 3 weeks ago. This mystery was definitely interesting. It had some really cool moments, like the big aha moment when Charlie gets the equation to work correctly and they find their guy. It felt like a good reveal, even though it's very different from a traditional detective reveal. Typically, it's, they find a clue or they remember some information from a witness or a suspect. But in this time, it was just about getting the numbers to work, which makes it very unique and fun to watch. I'm going to be giving the mystery a 7. Even though the use of numbers is super fun, the mystery itself lacked in a few areas, which, to be honest, I don't even think is a bad thing, because those areas in which the mystery lacked, it was because of what makes the character so great. Instead of a mystery that has these kind of twists and turns, we mostly watch Charlie, the character, go through these twists and turns. So, it's a more focus on character than it is on plot. So the mystery gets a 7. My detective rating for numbers is 8. There are a ton of shows, a lot of which we're going to be talking about today, where the whole premise is, it's a detective who solves crimes with blank. And Charlie solving crimes with numbers and equations is super unique and very fun to watch. And I'm sure if I kept watching episodes and if I watched the entire show of Numbers, I would give that detective character a 10, but this is just based on the pilot episode, so it's getting an 8. His superpower of math is cool, but he doesn't really command every scene that he's in the same way that like Sean Spencer did, where, he's so entertaining, you can't help but be caught up in it, even in the small moments. Plus, his FBI brother takes up a lot of the screen time, and his dad is the one that technically came up with the answer that solved the whole thing. So, none of this is all, very small issues, but they add up in my very prestigious rating system. Which brings us to our hook rating. I'm going to give it a 9. Once again, there's nothing in this pilot that suggests an overarching mystery that I need to know the answer to, but I just really want to see how he solves more crimes with math. Like, at what point do they run out of math ways to solve crimes and jump the shark? They start predicting the future with numbers, and it just becomes more like magic than math. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I want to keep watching because I want to know how that goes. That gives Numbers a total of 23 points, which is 3 points less than Psych got. Now, the numbers are not the end-all be-all. I could say I liked Numbers more, even though it got less points. It's moving on. But I think realistically, Psych is the right move here. It's just down to the detective character. Sean Spencer is such a fun character to watch. The entertainment value makes it almost impossible to compete against, which isn't super fair to Numbers because Numbers is a drama as opposed to Psych being a comedy. So it's like, of course, the detective in the comedy is more entertaining because he's so funny, right? And then it just comes down to personal preference. So Psych is moving on. Boom, just like that. We have our first matchup decided.
Meet Detective Adrian Monk.
The department thinks you're nuts.
106, 107, 108.
Brilliant detective.
This was no burglary. You wore slippers to avoid leaving shoe prints.
Major issues.
Someone tries to kill my husband and you send in Rain Man?
This isn't police work. This is vaudeville.
Emmy Award winner Tony Shalhoub is Monk.
Our next matchup is between Monk and Murder, She Wrote, starting with the Monk pilot. Now, right off the bat, Monk's pilot episode is, sometimes split into two parts. On streaming, it was combined into one, so it's actually a little bit of a longer episode. So it's more of a movie length, a feature length at 1 hour and 20 minutes. With mysteries in particular, more time usually means better mystery because you have more time to add zigs and zags. So I think that definitely needs to go into account when we're rating our mysteries for longer stuff. Now, what I will say though is Murder, She Wrote is a it's a 2 hour long mystery, right? So I do think that this is a fair matchup because they're both on the longer side. The Monk pilot is about a guy named Adrian Monk. He is a former detective who ended up leaving the force after a traumatic incident where his wife was killed in a bombing has made him extremely OCD and with several phobias. He is trying to be reinstated as a detective, but in order for that to happen, a therapist has to recommend him for it, meaning he has to show enough progress that he is capable to be reinstated as a detective. Monk has a nurse named Sharona, who is the Watson to his Sherlock Holmes. And this mystery is based around a potential political assassination attempt. A mayoral candidate named Warren St. Clair, he's having a big rally for his mayoral campaign, and during which his head of security gets shot, and everyone thinks, okay, they were trying to get the mayoral candidate, but he ducked, it hit the security guy. Monk is brought onto the case. He quickly shows his detective skills to everyone by telling the height of the killer and that they smoked Newport cigarettes and he was wearing slippers. He then connects the killer to a different case that he was brought on to help with earlier in the week. So with these two cases connected, Monk thinks we're looking for a serial killer. Monk and Sharona start investigating all over the town. Several more people die. There's an affair, there's embezzlement. At one point, they think they found the killer, but the killer's in a wheelchair. That doesn't work. How is he running around? Nope, it is him. He was pretending to be in a wheelchair, and Monk almost catches him, except his fear of heights allows the killer to just get away. Monk also almost ruins his friendship with Sharona because Sharona's out on a date. Monk shows up, ruins it. And at one point, Monk is being chased by a guy in a car trying to kill him. And, he gets away, but he could have got away faster, but because of his, his traumas and his OCD tendencies, as he's running down the street, he has to make sure that he touches every pole he passes. It makes for a humorous scene. After watching the footage of what happened at the mayoral campaign rally over and over and over again, Monk figures it out. The campaign manager was stealing money from the campaign, and one of the volunteers that was working in the bookkeeping figured it out. So the campaign manager went to the head of security and was like, hey, can I pay you to kill this lady? And he was like, no, are you crazy? So then the campaign manager had to go find someone else to kill this lady. They do, but now he's like, oh God, I got to kill the head of security because the head of security knows that I wanted this woman dead. So he's probably going to know it was me. So then he hires the same guy that killed the volunteer lady to kill the head of security. And so he got the killer to do it during the rally so that the cops would think that the mayoral candidate was the intended victim and that he gets off clear. But what he didn't expect was for Monk to show up and kick ass. It was a really great mystery. I'm going to give it a 9. We had twists, we had turns, we had multiple suspects and victims. The reveal was very satisfying. The only reason it's not a 10 is because I'm waiting for there to be a big reveal of one of these mysteries that makes me go, oh man, it was them? You know what I'm saying? For the detective character rating, I'm going to be giving it a 10. Much like Sean in Psych. Oh heck, why didn't you guys tell me that thumbtack was sticking out? How embarrassing. Much like Sean in Psych, just every moment that Monk is on screen, you are so just bought into that character. Wildly entertaining. His superpower right? His detective superpower of he's a detective who solves crimes due to his OCD. It's not super unique. Hercule Poirot, the very famous Agatha Christie detective, also has similar OCD tendencies. But Monk, having to kind of overcome his issues and solve these mysteries despite how difficult it is for him due to the traumas that he has, it makes for a very heartwarming character, a very heartwarming story. Which leads me to the hook rating for Monk. I'm going to be giving it an 8. There are some open questions that I would like to see the answer to. Will Monk ever be reinstated in the detective force? Also, what happened to Monk's wife? I don't think we know for sure. We know that it was a bombing. But really, it's just how entertaining and lovable the characters are that makes me want to keep watching. I'm giving it an 8. That means that Monk has a total score of 27 points. So let's see how well that competes with our next pilot, Murder, She Wrote.
Angela Lansbury stars in a tale of modern mystery. 6 suspects, but only one is guilty of murder, she wrote. Sunday, September 30th.
Murder, She Wrote follows a detective named Jessica Fletcher, who after publishing her debut novel gets swept up into the big city of New York, where at a party, a guest who is dressed up like Sherlock Holmes is murdered. Can she figure out what happened? Now, this was a 2-hour pilot, so I'm not going to go into all the details of this mystery, but it is very much your classic dinner party mystery. There's tons of suspects, tons of motives. At one point, Jessica's own nephew is the main suspect for the police on who did the killing. Jessica has a love interest who is her new publisher. There's a private detective who gets caught snooping around in the rooms of the house during the party. He gets kicked out, then the next day he is found in the pool dressed as Sherlock Holmes, dead. Jessica ends up solving the case, of course, after some wild twists and turns, and it turns out that her brand new love interest, Preston, her publisher, is the killer. It's a pretty fun reveal. We find out that in Preston's past, he was a part of some business venture with 3 others, and they had this construction project that went bad and, it collapsed. And when the building collapsed, it killed several people. His partners used him as the scapegoat, and he ended up going to jail. He escaped jail after 2 years and then got revenge on his former partners by ruining them financially. The private eye that gets caught at the party is one of his former partners that he ruined financially. He recognized Preston, decided to confront him, and Preston killed him. This mystery was absolutely incredible. It's getting a 10 from me. It obviously had a lot more time to work with as opposed to, just an hour-long pilot. But it was just so great. It felt like an Agatha Christie novel. It was everything you want from a good mystery. The ending was very satisfying. And while the mystery, I'm definitely giving a 10, I think for our detective rating, we're going to be giving it a 7. Now, Jessica Fletcher is very charming, very sweet, very fun character. The older woman detective trope isn't super unique. Once again, Agatha Christie has Miss Marple, which is a very similar character. And Jessica's detective work is a little bit more traditional. It's not as flashy or unique as some of the other detectives that we've run into so far. Her kind of like hook as a detective character is that she's a mystery author who solves mysteries, which is very fun, but it doesn't really play into her solving the mystery much, at least in this episode. For the hook rating, I'm going to be giving it a 10 as well. I just loved the mystery so much, I want to keep watching more mysteries. Like, if every episode's mystery is as good as the mystery that was in this episode, I'm in for life. I want to keep watching it till the day I die. And then when I die, I want Jessica Fletcher to be the one to solve the case. That means that Murder, She Wrote gets a total score of 27 points. Chase, I know you're yelling this at the screen right now. You're going, Chase, but that's the exact same amount of points that Monk's pilot got. Yeah, this is difficult. I do think that the big difference is Monk's score relies heavily on the detective character of Adrian Monk, while Murder, She Wrote's score relies heavily on the mystery of the episode. Obviously, the numbers can't help me here. I just have to go off of vibes. And truthfully, I think Murder, She Wrote is going to have to move on here. That sucks for Monk because I think in any other matchup, Monk would have been the one that progresses. But guys, the mystery in this episode is just incredible. So boom, Murder, She Wrote moves on to the next round.
Dr. Temperance Brennan is one of the world's top anthropologists.
She was stabbed 5 to 8 times with a military-issue K-bar knife.
And in her spare time, she's a forensic investigator for the FBI.
Grab your skull and let's bomb it.
Guys, do I look taller? I adjusted the chair, and I can't tell if it was always this tall or what. Anyway, next up we have Bones versus Castle. Starting with Bones, Bones is about a forensic anthropologist named Dr. Brennan, but everyone calls her Bones. She helps the FBI solve cases by using forensic anthropology, which is the study of what happens to bodies in different environments after they're dead. In this mystery, they find a decomposed body in a pond, and Bones is called in to help figure out what happened. Using the power of science, she very quickly figures out that the woman is between 18 and 22 years old and played tennis. Then, using some super dope holographic technology, they're able to piece together the skull fragments to create this replication of what the face probably looked like with tissue and muscles and skin on it. They create what the woman probably looked like, and it's so good that they actually recognize the woman. She is a missing intern who was rumored to be having an affair with a senator. After a few setbacks, Bones manages to solve the mystery. Turns out that the killer was the girl's boyfriend, who was afraid that her scandal was going to ruin his career because he was the senator's personal aide or whatever. So he chose his career over his girlfriend. What a loser. Guys, I'm not going to lie to you here. I'm going to give the mystery a 5. The ending felt rushed, kind of flat. We got one major red herring and one major clue, and that's about it. It wasn't much of a struggle to solve the case, so it didn't really feel like there was a lot of tension or suspense. That's not to say that the show's not entertaining. The show is very entertaining. I'm just strictly talking about the mystery because that's the mystery category. Which brings us to our detective rating, which I am giving an 8. I think Bones is a super interesting character. A lot like Numbers, I'm just fascinated to see the kind of superpower of solving crimes with the study of bones and how that works and how that helps in different types of mysteries. And for the hook, I'm going to be giving it a 7. There is kind of a major unanswered question, which is what happened to Bones' parents? That's the kind of mystery where it's I kind of want to keep watching so that I can find out what happened. But other than that, I'm not dying to keep watching other than, how do you keep solving these mysteries with Bones? Bones gets a total score of 20.
A successful writer.
Call me when you're ready to watch that.
Who's a little out of control.
If I have to keep bailing you out, you're gonna need to raise my allowance.
A hardcore cop.
This one's right up your alley.
Yeah, why is that?
You love the freaky ones.
Castle is all about a famous mystery writer named Richard Castle. He gets roped into an investigation because a serial killer is killing people the same way that people are killed in Castle's books. And so, due to the nature of how these bodies are being found, they ask if they can go through his fan mail. They find some fan mail that looks directly related to their first victim. They run it for prints. They get a match. They bust down this guy's door. There's a shrine to Castle. There's a shrine to Castle's books. And they're like, yep, I'm pretty sure this is our killer. They find a picture of the first victim. They find the murder weapon. They're like, guys, this is open and shut case here. This is our killer. So the cops are like, all right, we're done here, but something's bugging Castle. He's like, if I was writing this mystery, this would suck. People would hate this. It was like, okay, there's a killer. It's probably a fan of my books. Check my fan mail. Found a letter that is very creepy. We test it for prints. There's prints on it. We find the guy. He's got a shrine. The end. Where's the suspense? Where's the drama? So Castle keeps prodding and he finds some details that proves that this guy is not the killer. The investigation continues and Castle solves the case. It turns out that the killer is actually the brother of the first victim. He used a fake passport to make it seem like he was out of the country for all of the killings. In the end, they got their bad guy and Castle got a great story. The mystery was very impressive, guys. It's a regular length episode, right? So this isn't a special 2-hour pilot. They had a very limited amount of time, and what they did in that limited amount of time is extremely impressive. They had several twists and turns, there were different suspects and red herrings, which means that I'm going to be giving the mystery a 9. As for the detective character, I'm going to be giving it an 8. Castle's superpower being that he solves crimes due to his knowledge of story structure and writing. I think that's one of my favorite methods we've seen yet, in large part due to the fact that that's what I do on this channel with the Can I Solve series. As for the hook, I'm going to be giving it an 8. There's no arcing mystery here, but there is a lot of personal connections that make it intriguing to keep watching, like his relationship with the FBI agent. Well, I don't know if she's an FBI agent. I think she's like a New York detective. Kate Beckett. It's kind of a will they, won't they type thing, a romance storyline. And then also Castle's relationship with his daughter and his mom. Very interesting relationships. Makes me want to keep watching. Total score for Castle is 25 points. Guys, I think this matchup's pretty obvious. I apologize to any Bones fans that are watching. I could keep watching this show and fall in love with it and think it's the greatest thing in the world. But that's the thing about this challenge here, is it's based only on the first episode. And, you know, pilot episodes are notoriously not the best episodes of the show, typically. So, all that being said, Castle is moving on. Boom! I'm gonna make that my new catchphrase. I'm gonna steal it from the Costco guys. I'm gonna make boom be my new big thing. I'm gonna have merch. Boom. It's gonna be like, what? Who's gonna win? Boo! Okay.
I just want to take a moment and thank everyone in law enforcement who helped us in the search for our beloved daughter.
There's no point hiding things from me.
You're psychic.
No, just paying attention. I've been watching you and your husband, and I understand what you're feeling right now.
You have no idea.
Our next matchup is between The Mentalist and Numbers. The Mentalist is about Patrick Jane. Patrick used to have a career as a psychic. He was all over TV. People really believed in him. Now, obviously, he was fake. And after his actions as this fake psychic got his family murdered by a famous serial killer named Red John, he gave up that whole life, and now he helps solve crimes with the feds. It's occurring to me, I should have written this down better. I'm going to take a second to just chill and talk with you. I get them very confused when it's like, are they just working with the cops? Or are they working with the FBI or the CSI? Or, you know what I mean? It's like, a lot of these shows, it's very ambiguous. It's just like a person with a badge. Should I have maybe written down like The Mentalist is working with FBI versus just a police department? Probably, but I didn't think about it. So now I'm like, is he helping the feds or is he helping the cops? Probably the feds though, right? Because if he's dealing with serial killers and traveling state lines and stuff, it's got to be. Well, I don't know if he is traveling state lines, because in the episode we see him go back to his bed. Was it in the same town? Is the serial killer just only in this city? I haven't even told you guys about the show yet. Anyway, he's solving mysteries with some sort of formal investigation unit. And the biggest mystery, of course, that he's trying to solve is who is Red John, because he wants to catch the serial killer who murdered his family. This episode's mystery seems to be about a new Red John killing, except Patrick shows up and very quickly says, this was not Red John, this is a copycat. There are 2 victims. One is a woman named Allison, and the other is a family friend who's like a doctor. Patrick and the cops, they go down several different paths. Seems like maybe Allison was having an affair with that family friend since they were found together. Did the husband find out and kill them? You know, we go through all the wacky lefts and rights in a mystery. In the end, Patrick uses his fun psychic tricks to figure out the case. It turns out that the real target was the family friend, the doctor. Allison's death was just a decoy to try to make it look like the Red John killer. The family friend, doctor guy, he was the intended target. And the killer was his business partner, who was this other doctor guy, Dr. Wagner. Patrick manages to trick Dr. Wagner into pulling a gun on him and admitting that he did the killings. I really liked the mystery of this episode just based on the premise alone. Like, it's like, oh, is this the same serial killer that killed my family? Or is it something else? It's a fun hook to really get you invested in not only the mystery of this episode, but the main character. Solid suspects, fun theories, a really creative reveal. I'm giving this mystery an 8. And I think I'm actually going to also give the detective character rating an 8 as well. We've seen the fake psychic thing before in this tournament with Psych, but this is very different. This is a drama, and also he's not trying to trick the cops into thinking he's an actual psychic. He is, he tells everyone that he was a fake psychic and psychics are not real. Patrick has great detective skills. He's very charming. He's a very fun main character. 8. As for the hook, we gotta go with a 9. Figuring out who Red John is a major overarching story that has got me invested after just the pilot episode. Plus, I just think it sounds like fun to learn more about his past as a fake psychic who was like on TV all the time. That means that the Mentalist gets a total score of 25.
Excuse me, Mr.
Sherlock Holmes.
Joan Watson.
There are 2 broken glasses here. You can tell from the volume of shards. Okay. Base of glass number 2.
Elementary is a Sherlock Holmes adaptation that takes place in modern-day New York. Sherlock Holmes has a sober living coach named Joan Watson to try to help him, fight his addiction, stay sober, and also help him solve crimes. The crime in question is the death of a doctor's wife named Amy. At first, Amy's body hadn't even been found yet. There was just signs of a struggle and of an attack. But very quickly after Sherlock shows up on the scene, the body is found in a secret panic room that was built into the house. After that, Sherlock gets to work. He's able to find out all kinds of things about the victim and the potential suspect, like the victim had plastic surgery recently. She knew her attacker and actually let him in the door. Due to the strangle marks on the victim, he was able to figure out the height of the killer. Stuff like that. Sherlock finds another attack that happened that was very similar to Amy's, and he actually notices that both victims looked very similar. Both redheads with similar facial features. Watson is actually able to get the name of the attacker of that attack that was similar to the Amy attack, the Amy murder. The victim in that case was just trying to protect a family friend who was mentally ill, and she just said that she didn't know who attacked her. After some more back and forth, twists and turns, Sherlock Holmes solves the case. He figures out that yes, the family friend of that lady who just struggles with mental illness is the killer. However, he was taken off of his medication and riled up by his doctor, Amy's husband. He was preying on his patients' mental issues to almost like sick them on his wife, so that they would kill his wife for him. He had even manipulated his wife into getting plastic surgery so that she looked more like the type that his patient would be likely to attack. Pretty wild reveal. The mystery was awesome. I think I'm going to be giving it a score of 9. Even though it wasn't super intricate, it did feel like a very classic whodunit puzzle. It was very familiar to the Sherlock Holmes style of mystery. Like a big clue at the end of the mystery that kind of solves the whole thing has to do with a bag of rice, right? Our killer had a big old bag of rice in his kitchen, but he's deathly allergic to rice. So why does he have that bag of rice? The answer to the rice question solves the case. It's a super fun reveal. I do wish that the rice element was introduced earlier in the story so that we, the audience, could have kind of like tried to figure out, what is the deal with the rice? Instead of it being brought up kind of towards the end, right before the big reveal, we could have had that big, like, oh, why didn't I think of that moment? And if you're not going to watch the episode, the cell phone was in the rice because it had been put in the wash. And so it was wet. We put it in rice. And that cell phone had the recordings that proved what happened. Pretty sick. Detective-wise, I'm going to be giving the Sherlock Holmes character in this a 7. Mostly because we've seen a lot of Sherlock Holmes adaptations. And as far as this one, it's pretty solid, but nothing crazy or unique. I do like that this version of Sherlock is emotional. He gets angry, he throws temper tantrums, which leads us directly to the hook of the show, which I think is really great. Just the question of, will Sherlock be able to keep sober and battle his addiction? It gives the character a very real challenge to go up against, instead of Sherlock Holmes just being the greatest detective in the world and he solves everything and there's no tension, there's no stakes. The stakes is he able to do this while staying sober? I'm giving the hook a 9 for that reason. And also, who doesn't love watching Sherlock Holmes solve mysteries? Which gives Elementary a total score of 25, which once again is the same score that The Mentalist got. Numbers aren't going to help us much here deciding. It's all going to be based on vibes. I actually find this very difficult because on one hand, Sherlock Holmes is a character that we are familiar with. And it just, off the bat, it makes me like this show a little bit more because it's familiar. I know Sherlock Holmes. I like Sherlock Holmes. So that means I'm going to like this show. But The Mentalist is something new and unique. I have never seen other shows or movies about Patrick, right? Like, I have no idea anything about Red John. When it comes to the Sherlock lore, I know Moriarty. I know Irene Adler, which gets teased in this episode, where it's like, what happened to you in London, Sherlock? Was it a woman? And it's like, because I know the lore, it's like, well, it's probably Irene Adler, right? So there's like less mystery to that, oddly, than something which I've never seen before, which is everything in this show. There's no Robert Downey Jr. adaptation of The Mentalist for me to be like, oh yeah, I remember this part. There's no books from the 1800s that, give us the lore of Red John. That's just like a part of the popular culture, the cultural zeitgeist. So I think because of that, because there is just more for me to be shocked by and surprised by, and I just have a lot of questions that can only be answered by watching this show, The Mentalist is going to move on. So The Mentalist moves on to the next round, which brings us to the next matchup. Psych versus Murder, She Wrote. This is a very hard matchup. Psych got a total score of 26, while Murder, She Wrote got a total score of 27. This is a very close one. And once again, Murder, She Wrote is going up against a mystery or a show that got the score that it got in large part due to the entertainment value and the creativeness of the detective character. Whereas Murder, She Wrote got its high score from the mystery of the episode. Murder, She Wrote, I love the mystery. It got a 10, right? Psych, so entertaining. I feel like I could watch Sean and Gus forever and ever and ever, regardless of what the mysteries are like. It could be the worst mysteries in the world, and I would still probably enjoy the show because of the characters. Also, Psych only had the 1 hour pilot versus a 2 hour pilot to work with. Psych puts up a very hard battle, but in the search for the greatest mystery show, I do feel like we need to prioritize the mystery element. So I believe Murder, She Wrote is moving on to the finals. That was really hard, dude. On this side, we have Castle versus The Mentalist. Again, a very difficult matchup. In all honesty, the tournament has been more difficult than I thought it would be. I thought there would be some that just kind of suck and some that are really good, but they've all been really good. Castle got a score of 25. The Mentalist got a score of 25. Once again, I cannot rely on the numbers to help me figure this out. What is interesting about these two is that Castle got more points in the mystery category, while The Mentalist got more points in the hook category, and then the others balanced out. So from that, what I can say is that I enjoyed the mystery of Castle more, yet The Mentalist made me want to keep watching it more. And I mean, let's think about that. If the idea is to find the best mystery show, what do we prioritize? The quality of the mystery in the episode, or how engaging and hooking the show itself is, right? At what point is a show better even if its mystery is worse? It's also very interesting to see like how important the early matchups are to how the results of the whole tournament go. Because if Psych had actually been on this side of the board, I think it could have swept all the way to the finals, right? But it was on this side of the board, which ended up being a very difficult side. And then there's other factors in this too, like comedy versus drama. Castle is a comedy, The Mentalist is a drama. If this was purely a drama tournament where all of the shows were dramas, or a pure comedy tournament, all of these shows were comedy shows, it would be a little bit easier to figure out the matchups, right? Because you're putting the entertainment value of a comedy show against the entertainment value of a different comedy show. Which one was funnier? Which one was more engaging? Which was more entertaining? But in this situation, at what point is the comedy character more entertaining because it's allowed to be, because it's a comedy, versus the entertainment of the drama? The seriousness of the characters can be very entertaining as well. You don't have to be funny to be entertaining and captivating. And maybe I'll do that in the future. If this video does well and I continue the format, we could do one where it's just what's the best comedy mystery show, what's the best drama mystery show. I think it'd be fun to do like all of the actors who have played Sherlock Holmes and kind of compare the Sherlock Holmes head to head. I don't know. If you're interested, let me know down in the comments. Y'all saw that, right? The chair. I got shorter. To make my decision between Castle and The Mentalist, I think I'm just going to have to go with, if I had to go sit on the couch and watch one of these two shows right now, which one would I rather put on? And I think Castle takes that spot. Which brings us to our finale, the final matchup, Murder, She Wrote versus Castle. I did not see this final matchup coming, but check this out. Both of these shows, main characters, their detective characters, are mystery authors who solve crimes. Murder, She Wrote got a score of 27 and Castle got a score of 25, which means that Murder, She Wrote actually has the advantage numbers-wise, mostly because of the mystery category and the hook quality both got 10s. And the reason that they both got 10s is because of how good the mystery really was. But here's the thing. Murder, She Wrote had 2 hours to tell their story, as opposed to Castle, who had like 44 minutes. And Castle got a 9 in its mystery rating with a 44-minute episode. So I think that means that these shows are actually closer than the numbers would originally suggest. And on top of that, I actually think that Castle does the whole mystery writer who solves crime trope better than Murder, She Wrote. Castle is solving the crimes due to his knowledge of mystery writing, story structure, whereas Murder, She Wrote doesn't really use her mystery writing to solve the crime. She uses her skills as a detective, right? Castle is good at solving murders because he's good at writing them, whereas Jessica is good at writing murders because she's good at solving them. You see what I'm saying? But if we look at the reveals, the big reveals of each of these mysteries, the Murder, She Wrote reveal, extremely satisfying. The Castle reveal, the reveal that it was the brother of the first victim, we did not really meet that brother character until right when it was the reveal, right? Murder, She Wrote, the killer was someone that we had met early in the episode and had been with the entire time. And there were little clues early on in Murder, She Wrote's pilot that we could have come to the conclusion of, her love interest being the killer, the publisher being the killer. I do not think the same could be said for Castle's reveal. I think I know what needs to be done. This format is so interesting to me because it's just the pilot episodes. If I went through and watched every episode of every show, this could be drastically different. For all I know, Bones' 6th season is the greatest television masterpiece of all time. I have no idea. I've just seen the pilot episode. Or, Murder, She Wrote and Castle has made it all the way to the finals. Maybe Murder, She Wrote falls off after the first episode. What if it's never that good again? I have no way of finding out for this video. I mean, I could keep watching in my free time, but that's future Chase. Present day Chase has no clue. Yeah, guys, I think we know what needs to happen here. I believe the crown of Mystery Madness, the greatest mystery show of all time, based on the pilot episode, goes to Murder, She Wrote. I'm sure that you guys have differing opinions, especially if you have watched further into the series than just the first episode. So let me know down below your ratings and your rankings for these shows. The link's down below for Patreon. All right, dope.